So I've been thinking about the idea of like the online community, the photography community. And you probably know, if you've seen my other videos, then you know I've thought about this stuff a lot in one way or another. What the photography space online used to look like, what the famous photography channels used to be that we all knew. We always saw each other in the comment section. The fact that you would recognize specific individual viewers. Like you would recognize their avatar, you'd recognize their name. Like, oh yeah, it's this guy. I saw him commenting on the other video, and you'd start to respond to each other because it was kind of like seeing your buddy at a certain event. Like, oh hey, there you are. Like you expected to see certain people, and there was that kind of sense of community. It feels like so many of the old channels we used to watch were either, like, they don't do anything anymore. They completely stopped uploading. Some of them, unfortunately, have actually passed away. Like, I liked to watch David Thorpe. He's no longer around. But then other ones have changed their direction, or they've kind of gotten a little more modern with we have no loyalties to anybody. We will plug anything. We will say anything as long as there's a paycheck. And it's starting to feel very, I don't know, very unrelatable. But there are still small channels that I watch, and sometimes I'll recommend, like, oh, you should check this guy out, or I'll notice that in my comments section, which, by the way, I'm going to put this down for a minute. I do want to take a moment to say that I really appreciate this little miniature community that's being built in my comments section. I have no concept, like I have no illusions of grandeur. I don't think I'm special. I'm not trying to build a community around, you know, me or my videos, but I do notice that there are certain specific commenters, certain people behind those screen names that have been watching my videos for a while, that comment frequently. And because of the frequent comments, I start to get an idea of who they are and the personality, and I really actually appreciate reading the comments. I really enjoy hearing their point of view. And it's also surprised me how many people in my comment section are actual working professionals or have experience with it on an industry level. And then on top of that, I've gone, most of the time if I see comments often enough, I'll click on their channel and I'll go to see if they ever upload their own videos. And sometimes I find that some of them do upload their own videos, and they're actually very entertaining, and I like it. And that kind of gave me the idea for, man, there are a lot of small creators. There's a lot of these small channels that, honestly, like, I like the people, at least from what I can see. I like the people, I like the content, and they all have something to offer. And sometimes some of these videos are so enjoyable that I honestly find myself wondering, like, how are they not getting more views? How do more people not know about these channels? Because some of these are very niche, but other ones, it's like, man, this has wide appeal. So many people could benefit from watching these videos or seeing this channel. And some of these guys, they evidently put a lot of time and effort into making sure that they're having good quality videos. Unlike me, I turn the camera on and I just talk for a while. Sometimes I'm talking about a camera, sometimes I'm talking about a lens, sometimes I'm talking about a place that I went, sometimes it's a vlog, but I'm minimal effort when it comes to the YouTube stuff. To me, this is like just I don't know. I wouldn't say therapy because that's not what I do it, but it's kind of like just home video. If I have a thought or an idea that I think is worth talking about or I think is interesting, then I don't care if anybody watches it or not. I'll just hit record and talk for a bit and stop. But other people are like proper YouTubers, and they're legitimately like good creators that have good information. So without me talking anymore, I just wanted to talk about, you know, these are some YouTubers that I know about, that I've seen. Most of them are smaller channels, and I wanted to tell you about them because maybe, hopefully, everybody who watches this video will at least check these people out. But even if just one person finds one of these channels and it clicks, then that would be worth it. So those who are working photographers. So the first first channel would be a guy named BrettCarlsen. BrettCarlsen is a pro. He hasn't uploaded in a while, but when he does upload, it feels like you're just talking to a real guy. He's not trying to do any of this fake stuff. He's not putting on a generic charm. He's, as a working pro, he's telling you, like, this is what I'm choosing for this purpose and this is why. Yes, I know people will say this, but my experience actually working firsthand, that's not as important as this other thing. And sometimes he'll just do an unboxing or a review or whatever else, but he doesn't upload very often, but I kind of like his personality. I like his videos, and I like that his perspective and his views are coming from a current working professional's point of view. RoyRiley. Roy is another one who doesn't upload very often, but to me, like, I hate this YouTube algorithm stuff where people feel like if they want to do YouTube, they either need to upload twice a week or every week or every Monday, or else they can't upload. I upload more often when I have stuff I want to upload, and then I will go through long periods of time of not uploading anything because I don't really have anything I want to upload. So it's there when it's there and it's not when it's not. And I love that about other YouTubers. I don't want to see a video where the guy looks burned out and he looks worn out and he looks like he's scraping for ideas because he feels like he has to upload. I like it when, even if they only upload once a year, when they do though, it's like, oh man, I really enjoyed this. This is a worthwhile video. Glad to see another one from him. And there's a few of these guys are just like that, but Roy is one of those where he doesn't upload very often, but when he does upload, I typically like his videos. He is a working professional. He's been doing it for a long time. I don't know how long, but he's been doing it for a long time. He's primarily a Canon shooter. And what's cool about him is that he will go out and buy a new camera and use that as a working professional because this might be what he needs for a job, but he also keeps all his old stuff. Full frame, APS-C, whatever it is, he'll take out some of his old gear, like a camera from 20 years, an APS-C camera from 20 years ago, and he still has it. And he'll talk about how he got it, how he used it, what was cool about it, why it was so felt so needed and important at the time. Kind of what I do sometimes, where he's giving you the mindset of back when this was new, this was the concept, this was the idea. And he'll talk about how it holds up today, and it's a very honest, straightforward point of view. If there's a downside or there's a problem, he'll say it. And he'll also tell you which, like, oh, this might be an APS-C Canon from 20 years ago, but these are real photography assignments that I used it on. And then he shows you examples, like actual photos from professional shoots that he used these old cameras with. And it really gives you an idea of just how capable these cameras really are. So that's a channel I like. RichardBarley. RichardBarley, again, does not upload often, and he is very, very, very niche. Most people probably won't care, but then there's a whole cult following that will. RichardBarley is all about the 5D Classic. Now, sometimes he compares it against other cameras. He'll do, zoomed in 1-to-1. What do we see with colors or detail? But his primary thing is that I believe he's a full-time professional wedding photographer, if I'm not mistaken. And he has always used the 5D Classic. And when the 5D2 came out, I think he bought that and then ended up going back to the 5D Classic. And he gives actual, real reasons from his point of view as a professional that was doing this full-time, why he bought and owned the 5D2 and then ended up preferring the 5D Classic. I believe he's done it with every iteration. And I don't know if he only uses a 5D Classic now, but he still does use it, and he does it for actual weddings. And that's the perspective of, here's the best settings, here's what I found about it, here are some tips and tricks, here's the reality of what it can and can't do, here's a way to get around some of these limitations that actually make it much more usable for a pro event, more reliable, things like that. So if you are a fan of the old 5D Classic and you wish you knew of somebody who still used it today professionally, because there's always that, like, oh, you theoretically could use it professionally. He actually does. So if you're into that scene, that's a good channel. Then we have Thorsten Overgaard. He says it a little funny because he's Danish. He says it properly, actually, because he says his name better than anybody else. But he is a Danish photographer, which you will not forget because he tells you at the start of every video. It's kind of his catchphrase. He starts every video with, "Hello, I'm Thorsten Overgaard. I'm a Danish he says photographer, which I like that little touch. But Thorsten is, again, full-time pro. He's been doing various assignments, various types of photography, and getting paid for it, doing it around the world. He also now does workshops. He's primarily a Leica shooter, but it's not from a snobbish standpoint of like, you know, oh, my M camera, it's all about the M. He he has his own personal reasons for why he likes shooting Leica, and he has done the full frame, the APS-H Leicas. He's done the old, you know, the Japanese-made Leicas with a little tiny sensors. He's also shot with Fuji. I mean, he has shot other brands as well, and sometimes he compares them in videos. But what I like about him is that he's a guy who understands technical aspects. Like he does full write-ups on his website, very long, in-depth reviews, which he will regularly update. I believe he has the most in-depth review of the Leica M9 in the world, which is not hyperbole. Like he continues to update it and continues to add information as it's relevant. And I don't know how long it is now, but it is unbelievably in-depth. So he understands the technical aspects of these cameras and the pros and cons. He also, though, focuses primarily and really understands the artistic aspect of why you might want to choose this camera over this camera from a user standpoint, why he prefers personally to use Leicas, though he doesn't care if you shoot Leica or not. He has a very it's weird because it's both sobering and also a bit whimsical at the same time. It's very, very cool, and he has a long form, very much like me actually. He does these long form videos where he'll just set up the camera at his table, and whether he's talking about a camera or lenses or a photography concept, he just kind of gives an honest, straightforward, like let's actually get into this, let's talk about this. And I like that. I like to just sit and listen to him. So if you somehow don't know about Torsten, it's a cool channel I like a lot, especially if you like long form stuff. Now, everybody knows, probably in my comment section, everybody knows about MartinCastein. I don't know how the algorithm worked out, but Martin and me are very different. Martin speaks that funny version of English that they speak in England. I do not. I speak the American version, the proper version. Martin is an actual professional photographer. He does it, I believe, full time. I do not. I dabbled in professional photography a while back. I have been paid for it before, but I very quickly had issues with that industry and realized that why I love photography and the way I approach it is typically not compatible with business savvy. So I do it because I love it now. Whereas I believe he's found this magical way that he can, and I'm not being smart here, like he actually somehow found a way that he can do it professionally. He can work in studios, he can work out on the street, he can do it professionally from a business sense, but he also, outside of the professional aspect, he actually has a love for photography. And I've seen videos of his where he'll do landscape stuff, he'll do street photography, it's daytime, it's nighttime, it's a new camera, it's an old camera, mirrorless, DSLR, Canon, Nikon, Micro Four Thirds, whatever. He just enjoys photography. And what's unique about his approach is that, again, to reuse the words, it's very, very sobering. He's not trying to shill for a certain brand. He's not trying to tell you about this sensor size or this technology, or mirrorless versus DSLR or Canon versus Nikon. He has shot all that stuff, and he still owns and uses a lot of that stuff. And he'll tell you just the reality of him personally, his experience, why it is that I think he bought a new Nikon Z9, and why he bought that and why he uses that. But then he also still has his old Canon 6D and when he chooses that and why he chooses that. He'll tell you the reality of some classic, like real classic iconic cameras head to head. Like, why would you choose for example, the 5D Classic or the Nikon D700? He has both. They both are known for their legendary colors. So how do they actually stack up? What has been his observation over years and years of using them both for enjoyment and professionally? What can he say about that color balance and where one struggles and where it shines? So I see his name mentioned a lot. This is why I said I'm not sure how the algorithm worked out this way, because his videos are very different than mine, but somehow a lot of his viewers watch my videos and vice versa, because I see his name mentioned in my comment section all the time. But he does actually legitimately have a good channel and cool videos, and I enjoy watching them. Now, this guy I just found his channel less than 24 hours ago. So this is a shaky recommendation, but his name is Ben Staley. The channel is called Adventure and Art. I randomly saw someone mention his channel in a comment section, and I went and checked it out, and I just kind of started binging. I've watched probably 3 or 4 videos in a row. I don't know how to describe his channel properly. I don't have enough experience with it. I don't know how to describe him, but throughout just the videos I have watched, it sounds like he has been doing it for a few decades. He has actually been on assignment. He is a working pro. He's done stuff with National Geographic. But despite the fact that, again, he's a working professional, he very much has that artistic approach to it of making art, which is always a big distinction. That's one of the distinctions you see. In photography, you so often see that one channel or one photographer will say there's a specific group of photographers that don't know anything about the tech specs. They don't care what camera they're using. It's just a box. They only care about making art. That's their goal. That's what they want to do. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which these are working professionals. They are all about the tech specs. They don't have a nostalgic emotional attachment to their gear at all. It's look, I choose this brand because that's the lens mount I'm invested in, and I'm going to always own their newest camera because it has these specs, and if it has better autofocus, if it has faster frame rates, like, I'm always going to try to use the best because it will help me do my job, which makes me money. So it's very cut and dry. And then sometimes, not often, you see people that mesh in the middle where they are working professionals, but they still have that artistic approach. And several people I've mentioned are like that, actually. It's probably why I like them. But from the very short bit I've seen of Ben Staley, it seems like that's how he is. He is an actual legit working professional, but he has an appreciation and almost maybe even motivated by the art of it. I would assume if he puts art right in the name of the channel. Then we have David Patton. David, I found his channel because he commented on one of my videos, actually. And I liked his comment. I liked what he was saying. Like, I'm going to go check his channel. And it's awesome stuff. He's, see, I personally love photojournalism. Like, I'm in love with the romantic idea of photojournalism. And ever since I was a little kid, the idea of a photojournalist, you know, traveling around, capturing real moments, pieces of history, these images that become iconic and they're seen all over the world, that, especially looking back, like, oh wow, that image from that time. To me, I have this very romantic idea of the classic photojournalist. So when I discovered that he is not only a photojournalist, but he's been doing it for 25 years, it's like, oh, so that transcends just the modern era. It's not just a modern digital. It's not just in today's world of social media. Like, this guy had his hands in it back in the 90s, back when it was only film and there was no internet, there was no social media. That world of the 90s, you know, very, very different world. All the way up until today. Like, he's been around. I don't know what else to say. Just that specific experience that he has of what he's done and the amount of time he's done it, the changes he's seen and that he worked through and he adapted to, means he has a very unique and valuable perspective that I like. And I believe he now, even still, most of the time, I don't know if he shoots, I know he shoots a lot of film. I don't know if he's film exclusively, but he does shoot a lot of film, a lot of different old film cameras. And it's just cool. It's a nice channel. And then Paul Taylor, similar to David. Paul, he has been a news photographer for 20 years. He actually did a video recently that I watched and I commented on, talking about 20 years as a news photographer. And there was like a 1-minute section. It was almost perfectly timed. A 1-minute section from right before the 2-minute mark to right before the 3-minute mark, where he's talking about a very specific thing, which he summarized it very well in 1 minute. And if I try to remember it and describe it, it's going to take me way longer. But I'll just say that I connected with it. That 1-minute section is like, oh, dude, like, I feel that. I know exactly what you're saying. Again, a guy who, real guy, he's not pushing any brand, he's not pushing anything, there's no agenda, he's just an experienced working photographer with a few decades in the industry, which has some very valuable insight. So you might want to check out his channel. Now, the other side, these are YouTube photographers. Now, I don't mean that in a negative way. What I mean is that the note that I wrote here, I'll read it right from the paper. It says, YouTube photographers that I like. These guys have normal jobs but love photography and make cool YouTube videos on the subject. So yeah, that's what this is. These are not full-time working pros. These are guys who have normal jobs, non-photography jobs, but they love photography. They do it quite often in their spare time, and then they also go through the effort of making YouTube videos and sharing their insight and everything else, and I then like their videos. And some of these, for all I know, maybe they do actually make money with photography from time to time, but I couldn't find any info on that. So the very first one might be one of my favorites from this list, actually. His name is Jack Wang. I'm going to read you the note just so I don't leave it out, and then I'll kind of play off of that. I wrote, I just discovered this channel recently, and I'm a bit obsessed with it. The way he approaches photography and his thought process behind it is a real, literally me moment every time I watch one of his videos. I like his content, I like his editing, I like his pacing, and as I just mentioned, I feel like he is one of those very, very few other humans with a camera that, based on how he describes it, has a remarkably similar approach to photography that I do. If I was more talented and more motivated, my videos would probably be more like his. Really, this is one of those real hidden gems where I found his channel and I watched one of his videos by total accident, and I found myself not once thinking about how far in. I didn't check the little timeline to see how much there was left. I wasn't waiting for him to get to the next part. He has found this great way to balance actual good information, but it's also very concise and the pacing is just right. It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like it's dragging. It's very, very well balanced. And even the footage he shoots, whether it's A-roll or B-roll, the footage seems to perfectly match what he's talking about, and it goes along with the narration of the story he's telling. The way that he tells the story or this idea is, again, very, very relatable. It's very easy to listen to and easy to follow along with. And the reason why I really, really clicked is because so many of the photos that he shows in his videos are photos, like a style of photo that I really like. And especially when he's showing pictures of his child, the way that he captures those family photos is very similar, I feel, like than the approach that I use when I'm capturing photos of my boys. And he had a whole section where he describes his approach to photography and being a dad with the camera and capturing these moments that are almost immediately over, this time that is never coming back. And as he was describing this, I found it unbelievably relatable. I'm not going to go into this rant. That's not what this video is about. But I get very, very deep into the thought process and the finite nature of everything, and the nostalgia and the art and the just everything wrapped into just, I get very, very in my own head when it comes to when I'm looking through a camera and capturing a moment and what that represents, and especially looking back at these moments, that hits you in a whole different way. But very, very relatable, very good videos. The stuff he talks about, his reasoning behind things, his very honest approach. I like his videos a lot, and I would highly recommend it. FramesTM. I don't know this guy's name. I just know the channel's name. I can't find his name anywhere, but it's probably because I just found the channel recently. Maybe he's mentioned it in a video. FramesTM, he's based in India, which immediately is super interesting for me, visually interesting, because again, I grew up being obsessed with the idea of the classic rugged photojournalist, and seeing photos in National Geographic magazine or in Life magazine of India specifically. You see them from all over the world, but the photos from India, especially like Steve McCurry stuff, that way that it showed the culture and the colors and the class system, the difference in people and how they lived. And even in India, it's so big that if you go to northern India, you're going to see totally different things than you see in southern India. From, again, the architectural style to the religious aspect. That's one of the reasons, like, I've always wanted to go to India. That's on my bucket list. I've always wanted to go to India and travel with my camera. The problem is, I don't know how long. I might have to stay for years, and I still wouldn't capture everything. It's too big. There's too much to see. I don't know where to go first. It's this real paralysis by analysis. And whether it's old Steve McCurry photos or it's watching movies like the Darjeeling Limited, which is a Wes Anderson movie, I've been obsessed with this romantic idea of India, and especially going to India with a camera. And now here it is. He's based in India, very professional production, good photos. I don't know how to describe it. It's very pleasing to watch. Even, again, I mentioned Wes Anderson. I love Wes Anderson, and that's a different story. But when I watch FramesTM videos, you see his studio, and because of that very squared, upright, centered approach, because of the pastel colors, the lighting, everything, it feels very much like you're looking at a scene from a Wes Anderson movie. And then even though his way he speaks, his speaking style, his intonation, his pacing, it's very easy to listen to. And I don't know, I find it very enjoyable to watch his videos. And a lot of the time I like his insight. I like what he's saying. So yeah, that's FramesTM. I would say that's a cool one to check out. Hunter Creates Things. I assume his name is Hunter. I don't know for sure. Hunter Creates Things is a smaller channel. I think he has like 20 videos total. I'm not sure. This is a guy that very much seems to be focused on quality over quantity. He doesn't upload all the time, but when he does upload, he has a very specific story or a very specific subject. He's creating it to cover a certain time frame. He's got a consistent style when it comes to the thumbnails with his storytelling. Even little inside things, like he uses a wooden spoon as his mic stand for this little clip-on mic. I don't know if he did that out of necessity early on and then just stayed with it out of tradition, or if it was always a joke. I don't know. But this is a guy he's uploading good content, cameras, lenses, photography aspects, like how to approach something, lighting, shooting film, all sorts of stuff, why you need a pocket cam. He has a lot of really cool videos that are very well done, and he's very consistent with, again, his sense of humor, his themes. Very, very cool channel. Again, another one of those that I'm not sure why it's not more popular. The next and the last would be AG Shutter. AG Shutter is here in Taiwan, actually. I don't know if it's one guy or if it's a few guys that do the channel, but they're based up in Taipei, I believe. If you are ever kind of wanting to see the cameras or the streets in Taiwan, that the photography in Taiwan from a Taiwanese perspective, this is a cool channel. It's all in Mandarin, so if you hit the automatic subtitles which are available, those typically work pretty well. But what's cool about this is that I assume he must work at a camera shop or something, I don't know, but this guy's got such a wide variety of cameras, from new to old, digital, film, all these different brands, really rare cameras that are hard to get a hold of, and he's got like a pristine, great copy of one. And he'll talk about these old cameras, again, film and digital. He'll kind of give you the story of how they came to be, how they were marketed, what they were meant for. He'll tell you about these cool little quirks and features, like, hey, this is this unknown thing, but if you do this, it actually does this. He'll tell you about the experience of actually using it. Like, this is, when you use this camera, you'll notice this. Which, again, for some of these cameras that you might have never even seen in real life or never had a chance of using, it's very insightful. But on top of all that, just the video style. Seeing these cameras up close, seeing the stuff shot very well, and then him giving photo examples of, he does this photography. He'll always test out all the cameras, and of course, he's Taiwanese, so he walks around Taiwan. Whether it's, some of it's, beautiful landscape stuff, but a lot of it's just around the streets. Like, he walks the streets of Taipei taking random photos. and it gives you a very real sense, like as a secondary unintended consequence of watching the camera review. Not only do you get a really very real idea of how this camera renders things, like if it's a digital camera, how it renders colors or contrast or detail, but you also get this little sneak peek of what daily life in Taiwan looks like out on the streets, the buildings, the people, the traffic, all sorts of stuff. So although he doesn't speak English, I would say that AG is a cool channel to check out. But anyway, that was it. The whole motivation for me was there are so many great YouTube channels that are related to photography that I wish more people knew about. And on top of that, I'm always open for another one. So there are so many out there I don't know about. I've only recently found a few of these channels. So on top of me kind of giving you my recommendations for channels that I like, I would also ask if you have channels that I didn't mention that you think are great, not just for me, but for other people who might watch the video, other people who might check the comment section. If there are photography channels that you would like to share, really please put them down in the comments below. Now, I will say ahead of time, if you try to do a link to the channel, YouTube's probably going to block it because YouTube blocks links a lot of the time. And if you just have an off the cuff, like, oh, it's this guy, it's going to be very hard to find their actual channel. For example, I've plugged his channel before, Amar, over at Kama Sutra Camera. I said Camera Sutra 247. He has recently changed. He's changed his channel name a bunch in the past, so that's one of the reasons why it's hard to find his channel. But the other thing is that he now has named the channel Camera Sutra 247. But if you type that in, you actually get multiple channels that are called Camera Sutra from different places, different subscriber counts, whatever. So in many of these cases, the best way for us to find the right channel that you're referring to is if you can do the little @ and then type their name out. And that kind of acts as a YouTube specific link. YouTube allows those, but it does act as a link. We can click on it, we can check it. But any other photography channels or art channels or whatever else that you would want to share, I would say please put them in the comments down below. I would love to check it out. I'm sure other people would too. Other than that, yeah, send these people some love. These are channels I legitimately enjoy watching, and I think more people should be aware of. So other than that, thanks for watching. Sorry for rambling so long. It's kind of what I do. But until next time, I will talk to you later.